Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching this video, you qualify in the area of having only 8 to 10 points that you scored on the developing a topic practice, which means you need a little more time to go over what's important about this. This is something that you are going to be doing all the time. Even in your personal life, you're going to have to be working on developing a topic and getting it to a point so you can get to the answer that you want to. So it's a very important 21st century skill. What we're going to be doing today is reviewing the questions so that you have the information to get the correct answer and know all of the pieces. And we're going to do that in 3 steps. First, you're going to and should have already picked up a hard copy of the practice sheet. If you have not done that, stop, pause, go do that right now. Once you have that practice sheet, you're going to look back at your grade and go through your sheet and look at the ones that you have received the incorrect answer, or actually mark all of the answers that you put down for each one, whether they were right or wrong. If they were wrong, you can put a check mark or you can put a star. If they were right, you understood that question. What we're really working is to clarify the ones that you did not get correct. The third thing you're going to do is finish reviewing this online lesson, and whether you got the answer right or wrong, you need to be taking notes for each question so that you really have a strong grasp on this topic. You're going to mark the correct answer and then also put down why that was the correct answer. And a good idea would be to write down why your answer was wrong. That hard copy then needs to be turned in before you leave class today to recover points for your grade. The first thing I'm just going to review very quickly is that some of the basics for defining a topic. And we will go into this in more detail as we go through the questions, but I just want to put a few terms in your head to be watching for. In order to pick a good topic, you want it to be something that's well defined. That means that it's focused. It's also a good idea to pick something you like. You'll always do a better job on a topic that you have some personal interest in. It's also helpful if you have a little background information in that already, and whether or not you have some, you're going to have to do a little pre-work to get some background information. That may help you to narrow things down or expand it out if you need to. People really seem to understand that you want to make a topic not too broad and not too narrow, but folks, that's not all there is to it. You need to pay attention to other things. You want to start broad and then work to narrow it down. And this is all going to be based on whether or not or how much time you have to work on your project, how much time you have, and how many pages you have in order to share what you have learned. All right, so let's go ahead now and we are going to take a look right at the assessment itself that we looked at. So our first question was, you are thinking of doing a presentation on zoo animal. Which subtopic would be the best choice to give you the best amount of research material and evidence? Snakes. That's a pretty big topic. I don't think that's the one. Snakes in North America. That's better. It narrows it down to a continent. Snakes in Louisville, Nebraska. You'll see I have a typo there. That might be tough to find an answer for. When they talked in the presentation about not being able to find enough valid information, that might be one that would be difficult. How about snakes on Mars? Well, let's hope there weren't snakes on Mars. The correct answer, of course, was snakes in North America. Of this selection of choices, that's going to be the one you're going to find an ample amount of information and not too little information. It is a better answer than Louisville, Nebraska, because while you probably could find some stuff, that's going to be a little bit tougher to do. All right, you're doing a presentation on astronauts working in space. Which question below is least important to answer for this report? This question was a tricky one, okay? So we need to think about and focus on what our topic is. we are doing a presentation about astronauts working, and working is the key word there, in space. All right. How do astronauts breathe when working in space? Well, you need to breathe to work. That is important, okay? The second answer was, what do astronauts eat in space? Well, we do need to eat, but, I'm not sure how much that has to do with working. That's what I need to think about. What happens if astronauts get sick when working in space? Does getting sick affect your being able to work? Yes, it does. How do astronauts put out fires working in space? Again, this is affecting your work. So of the four, the one that is least important in this is, what do astronauts eat in space? While we need to eat to survive, okay, the other three are more important to review. You start talking about food, okay, or eating, and you're going to sound like you're getting off of topic, all right? So that is what you need to focus on. Next question. Most topics are too broad and must be narrowed. Which topic is the narrowest? All right, Asia is a continent. Japan is a country. Marco Polo is a person, and for those of you who just knew that it was a game, there's a reason it's called Marco Polo, and it was based on a person. And Pokemon is a fictional character. So let's see, which topic is the narrowest? Well, this one was a tough one too, because, Pokemon is fictional. The best topic, if you were to do a report, would be Marco Polo the person, okay? Because that's looking at someone specific. If you didn't get that one right, that's okay, but I do want you to think about it in these terms, okay? I am going from smallest to biggest, and if I'm in an area, I need to really focus on what is the most or the best answer. I'm moving from from continent to country to person. And maybe if Pokemon wasn't in there, people would have gotten that one correct. It would have been easier. But that's what you need to be thinking. You are creating a website report due in 1 week, short time frame. The topic animals is too broad, too narrow, or just right. You have 1 week. How many types of animals are there? Okay. This one is too broad for the time, because you have to think you're not working on it 40 hours in 1 week. You might be only working on it an hour in 1 day. And that report on all the animals could go on forever and ever. So you're going to want to narrow that down. You can narrow it to a species, but that's even probably too broad. You'd want to narrow it down to an actual type of animal, so you were reporting on one thing. You would be able to get that done in that time frame. Okay. Next question is, you are creating a website report due in 1 week. Okay. The topic science is, again, the same type of thing. You cannot talk about everything within science in one website report. Think of how many pages you would have to have. I mean, just go Google science and see how many results you get back. You're going to want to get more specific and look at a specific scientific topic. So this answer is, again, too broad. You are creating a website report due in 1 week. The topic of African elephants is, this one would actually be just right, okay? That's specific enough. Yes, there are multiple types, but you could probably pull that together. You would have very high level information, like you might be able to just talk about the species and then not be talking about them in each type of African elephant in great detail. But you could create a report that said, here are the types of African elephants that exist, and you would be able to show that in that amount of time. You just wouldn't get very detailed about them. So that one is about just right. Okay, the last one is probably the biggest one that I want you to get notes on. What I was looking for is for people to use the keywords and the points that were important from the presentation. And this is another example of why it's good to take notes. So here on this portion, I want you to list in bullet fashion the things that you should be looking about that are important about the process of how we go about choosing a topic and what we should be careful of, okay? So the first point is going to be from the presentation is that we want to look at picking a good topic, meaning that it needs to be well defined, okay? And this is where it came to be with the question. Having an important question was important as well. So you want it to be well defined. For instance, the topic of African elephants is well defined. I have a specific thing that I am looking at, and I should be able to go find ample information on that. Okay, so you want it to be well defined as the first bullet point, and focused. That could also be the first bullet point. You want to pick something that you like is the second most important point. Pick something that you like. All right. The reason that is, and let's go ahead and let me just start a document here. You're always going to you're always going to have more interest in doing something that you like better yourself. That is not what I want either. If you don't like a topic, you're going to find it boring, and frankly, your product is going to be boring. If you're bored, so is your audience. So you want to pick something that you like. So that first is well developed, defined, well developed. You pick something you like. Have some background knowledge. Or do some research. Okay, so as you look into something, let's say you just started looking at elephants and all of a sudden you see, gosh, there's way too many things coming back. Well, that's when you know you need to narrow things down, okay? And having that background knowledge or doing a little bit of that will help you define that. Not too broad, not too narrow. Okay, you want to keep that in mind when you're doing. You want to work on narrowing it down. Narrow it down. Think about how much time you have. That is going to be key into letting you know how broad your topic can be. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, those are the basics, the very basics of how we take care of developing a topic, okay? There's more to it than that, but this is enough to get you started, all right? So you have your notes completed. You may turn this in to recover some points and go on and do some reading or newspaper if you have any time left.